well on it. However, Tribe does first pick Black Feather after spending a lot of time thinking about that ban.
Yeah, a lot of their bonus time getting used up there. So they're going to have to be a little bit snappy with the rest of their draft coming through. Nova, they now have the chance to respond. You expect it to be the Rhyme Band. That's the kind of the standard, the go-to selection. But Nova, they're known for going a little bit off the wall, and they're going to be taking the Saw away from Dienzio instead. And obviously now, Tribe, they can lock in that Rhyme for T-Tigers if they'd like. They can maybe go for the Petal, but it is going to be the Rhyme lock-in. So Tribe, you got to figure they're going to be very happy with that as the first pick.
Very happy with that as first pick. And we talked about the jungle as being important. Rhyme is another pick that T-Tigers can shine on and play so aggressively, try to dominate his opponent in the jungle. Tribe in general have been prioritizing T-Tigers picks just because they can rely on him to perform well always.
Got Lyra banned away alongside a Kestrel there, so now with a whole host of carries taken off the table, I'm curious to see which direction these guys go in. Obviously, something like a Jewel is still available for Truth. That's something we've seen him fall back on in the past and something we've seen him dominate games on.
Yeah, Truth, maybe an Idris could come out. We haven't seen a whole lot of Idris on Update 2.9, but Truth is one of those players that was absolutely unbelievable when he got his hands on that hero, but it is going to be a Vox instead. So, Vox is another one of these heroes that comes out against these melee picks and can find a great amount of success as long as the team is able to protect him and let him start stacking up.
I would not be surprised if I saw a Petal pick comes out here for lane as a weapon power hero for DNZ. You mentioned it before the draft, Munchables. Another thing that would be very interesting is the Ringo that we haven't seen much of at all in the past, but regardless, we don't want to talk about that since it's Petal the pick. So Petal, Rhyme, and Grace, this is a traditional composition that Tribe used to go for at 2.9, now in 2.8, or they used to go for it in 2.8, now in 2.9. It's still as strong, and it has a lot of early game pressure with the Rhyme.
We'll see how Nova are going to answer this one as well, what they're going to send on into that jungle. Obviously, Petal taken away there already. There are still a few picks available, but it's going to be a Samuel, so full range composition coming out from Nova here. How are we feeling this one is going to be serving them?
This is definitely going to be Nova attempting to just kite their way out of these fights. Once the Petal, Grace, or Rhyme goes in, they want to try and move backwards. Throw that Drifting Dark backwards, move along with it, throw those Malice and Verdicts, allow Vox to just stay at range, try and get those Resonance bounces and such building up, and use the Ardent just for that little bit of extra movement speed to continue disengaging until the abilities have been used. Once the abilities have been used by the side of Tribe, that's when they're going to want to try and turn it back around and re-engage onto them. But this is it's not the greatest of disengage and kite compositions because they don't really have the AoE movement speed buffs that we see a lot of the teams go for.
Right. My eyes are going to be on the jungle. The T-Tigers versus Lone Delphi matchup with the Rhyme and the Samuel. If T-Tigers gets into the jungle of Samuel, picks up a couple of camps and maybe picks up a kills even, they could snowball the game very easily and then allow Petal to carry on later in the team fights with a couple of items advantages. So especially the fact that they are going up against a double range composition with the Vox and the Samuel, they don't have ways to deal with the Petal later on if she's ahead.
All right, well, it's just about time that we get on into our final game of the day. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter. Let us know who you think is going to be able to take this game. It is going to be Tribe going up against Nova. So many points on the line. This is such an important match. And it's time to pass it over to Dowsy and Humanist one more time to get into our last series.
Well, that's right, and we are happy to take the mic away from you, Munchables, let you rest up, heal yourself from that cold. But we have a wonderful series on our hands here. Tribe going up against Nova, and a little smack talk even in the game lobby here. T-Tigers calling Lone Delphi a one-trick.
Ooh, that is some smack talk. Lone Delphi's not a one-trick. This guy plays so many different junglers to such a high competitive standard, but something that T-Tigers and Lone Delphi do share is a very similar hero pool. So watch this game as perhaps those jungle picks kind of bounce back and forth between the drafts. Rhyme into Samuel. Samuel, theoretically, very good into Rhyme, but he has had a bit of trouble finding his place in the meta. Lone Delphi going to really have to try and farm, get to a spike. Frostburn not as prioritized anymore, which used to be the thing that was so good into Rhyme especially.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like, of course, the Samuel has a lot of tools in his kit to deal with that Rhyme, but if Tiggs can find his way onto that Samuel, he will blow him up. We've seen it a few times, even in that Fight of the Week video that we broke down from the SKG2 matchup. It's just one of those things. Zio, I'm really curious to see how he's going to make this pedal work. He's been one of the best weapon pedals thus far. Tiggs down in the jungle, looking to contest the Eldritch Treant here. Delphi's in the Drifting Dark, moving back. Malice Verdict coming through. He's going to secure that. I think even Corrupted Genius perfectly timed coming out there. Max Green moves in. Find a little bit of damage, but I don't think they're going to want to chase this. Maybe potentially Truth is dropped down. Tribe, they're pinned in. T-Tigers, he realized he has to stand his ground. That's the healing flask. He's trying to apply damage to get the fortified health and stay on target, but he doesn't get it. In fact, First Blood's going the way of Nova. A beautiful rotation of play for them. They're going to take away at least the front half of Tribe's jungle here.
Yeah, they certainly are. Max Green also very likely to... he gets away. I thought he might have to pop his healing flask, but the healing flask is intact. Great rotation play from Nova. You say that Dienzio has been the star weapon power pedal. It was actually Truth who showcased it for us at the Unified Live Championships back in Los Angeles. We thought it was a little bit troll, but you've seen that so far the weapon power pedal has kind of become a staple point of the autumn meta here. So Truth, if anyone going to really understand how the weapon power pedal works and how to play around it. Vox, a very strong hero, very diverse hero on the current update, can kind of build whatever he wants to, and so he's going to be able to match the crit or get sustained for himself, really whatever he wants. Lone Delphi, currently just trying to bully T-Tigers as much as possible. The Arden makes it very easy for Lone Delphi to reposition around the Winter Spires and prevent Tigers from getting damaged, but this time it's Dienzio rotating. Would be enough. Max Green going very low, 2 minutes.
Lols, Dienzio, what are you even thinking? Max so low. One Malice Verdict would have taken him out if he didn't have that healing flask. He's healing up, trying to juke out, but it's not enough. In fact, that's a huge waste of the healing flask. There's a massive cooldown. Nova finding another kill. Now they're going to rotate up into the lane. Nova, a very strong lead early on here.
It's just this Samuel in the early game. The thing that makes Samuel so strong is that he didn't really need items to have his power spike. He just has such great early level damage. And currently Lone Delphi's showcasing it here as they siege this turret.
Turret taking a whole bunch of damage, but this is going to be T-Tigers taking this opportunity to rotate into the jungle of Nova. Scout traps are down. They know that T-Tigers is down here. This is going to be... Jungle's intensifying in about 5 seconds here, so he's only going to have a few seconds of work here in this jungle. He's going to get caught out with Crystal Sentry hammering away. He's able to take the back Treant as well. Getting this heal is a huge deal for him. Truth realizes it's time to rotate once again. They need 3 to fight T-Tigers here. T-Tigers pops the healing flask, stands his ground. Crystal Sentry's here as well. Max Green off the mark with the Holy Nova. Truth, Kainu Pack doing such a good job with that Holy Nova. He moves forward, getting damage down onto Tiggs. So again, you see that Tiggs, once he's overextended, he has to stand his ground.
Yeah, it certainly does, and with the Crystal Sentry coming in, Tribe were never really in a position to win that fight. Dienzio doesn't have any damage on this weapon power petal yet either, which makes him kind of not really a major factor in these team fights. And so once more, Nova able to find a kill. Truth does have to be a little careful in lane. Eco will be making his way up with a Fountain and Iron Guard contract to provide even more sustain, and then we see it. The first item, Dragon's Eye, coming out for Lone Delphi. The one thing about Dragon's Eye, we can't really showcase it super well in 2.9, considering the fact that we can't see the actual stacks on the spectator client, which will be coming in 2.10.
I'll count them out for you.
But yeah, you count them out for me. Don't worry. Humanist has got it. I'm sure you're quite capable of that. But on Samuel, when you have your Malice and Verdict empowered by the Drifting Dark, it's a 1 second cooldown, so the Dragon's Eye stacks pretty nicely inside of it. And then after the Drifting Dark is finished, you use your auto attacks to keep the stacks alive. And so watch Lone Delphi's ability to just weave auto attacks in between his spells. Of course, he needs to for Corrupted Genius anyway. It just makes Dragon's Eye quite a nice item on Samuel in general.
Yeah, it's a very efficient item, and I think efficient item on a very efficient hero, especially in the hands of Lone Delphi. Delphi recalling back to base is going to pick up a little bit of armor and a battery as well, so it's going to allow him to have a little bit more sustain there. Everything else quiet across the Halcyon Folds. Both these teams just kind of trying to get their farm.
Good kind of time to talk about the win conditions of both team. Tribe with this weapon power pedal and the Rhyme have a lot of burst potential, so I suspect they're going to be looking to jump on top of Lone Delphi and try and blow up this Samuel as quickly as possible. Might be a little bit more difficult to do it to the Vox.
Trampoline forward, they tried to get on top of Nova, but Nova turned it around and blow T-Tigers up. It's almost like he's playing a squishy here in a Max Green, eating a whole bunch of damage, healing flask at the last second.
Oh, wow.
Logan's gonna come down, splits Tribe with the trampoline there. Nice job by Bienzo to avoid that, but he moves back in. Did he use his own healing flask as well? Yes, he did. Turret's dropping low, a couple more attacks. It will go down here. Ego drops very low, but he's gonna be okay. I mean, even still holding the fountain through that fight.
Yeah, no, it was very nicely done by Nova. The turret dive was perfectly juggled. You notice the way Nova, Truth, and Lone Delphi kind of just ran into the aggro of the second turret and then quickly out of it. It meant that Eco then took the turret aggro and allowed for Nova to continue their turret dive until the turret was eventually taken down. Nova with a huge gold lead. And like you mentioned, T-Tigers, he's meant to be this tanky Rhyme. Well, the only way he actually gets tanky is one, if he has defensives, which he didn't, or two, if he builds up fortified health by landing damage, and he didn't. This is the issue about playing Rhyme into a double range composition, is that if your opponents are able to position in such a way that they don't get hit by Winter Spires or auto attacks, and there is no fortified health available for the Rhyme, and Vox with quick ramp up damage, you know, going to go into a Sora Blade next for that sustained damage, and of course this Samuel, who has fantastic early game base stats, and with a Dragon's Eye only getting more and more crystal power, they're able to really take down T-Tigers very quickly. So Tribe have to be a little bit more diligent about the way they engage these fights. They can't just it's a hard one. They have to kind of run in and face tank the damage, because that's what their composition has. They've got a trampoline to engage, a benediction on this Grace, and then the Holy Nova to knock up, and then the Rhyme gets in there with the Valkyrie. But if they do it in such a vision of Nova that it's kind of telegraphed, then they're not really ever going to find the engage they need to make a team fight work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think telegraphing it and running straight at them is the best choice, but I mean, at some point in the game, they may be able to do that. I just feel like it's almost too early for them to be trying to make those kind of plays with the weapon pedal.
That weapon pedal is like this 3-item. She's like Baron. It really like Baron in the way her damage ramps up over time. She gets her third item online, you know, the second tornado trigger, and then all of a sudden her crit potential is huge. With this singular tornado trigger and an infusion in inventory, Dienzio can definitely do a little bit of work. This all has to be set up by Max Green and T-Tigers, and so you kind of have to keep your eyes on their ability to engage.
Eco starts the fight off with the Gauntlet. Eco ready to engage. They just smoke Max Green. Now looking for Dienzio. Truth's on target, ripping through this pedal. Oh my goodness, made him look like paper right there. Truth just tearing through Tribe.
It just feels like Nova's composition is just counters Tribe completely. Tribe have not been able to find engages. They're not tanky enough to run at Vox and Samuel. Every time they do so, they just melt a singular member of the Tribe and the fight's over.
Is T-Tiger's dead? T-Tiger's able to take the mid though, stands his ground. Oblivion's gonna come down, he jukes it out. Fountain actually forced out of Nova there. Tiggs. Pretty bold plays, I'd say, Dalsy.
It is very bold, but it's almost desperate as well. Tribe need to start to get gold into their systems, and so far Nova have made them look like paper. This Sora Blade second item for Truth just provides so much mid-game potential for him. Such a great power spike, and you see that the team is working to make it worth the while. And Eve of Harvest will be there for Lone Delphi, which means that even if T-Tigers gets on top of him to lay down some damage, he's going to be able to heal it back up over time. And not only that, he can siege for even longer. Only 7-0, and there's a 4,000 gold lead. It's very hard to kind of analyze exactly what Nova are doing right, because their composition is just very good into Tribe. They've kind of outdrafted their opponents, but equally so, Tribe are just not in a position where they can actually team fight, which makes the Rhyme very useless because he's such a good early game hero. They've kind of mismatched their power. Sometimes you can do this, you know, it's like Iraqi Zora calls it, an escalated composition where you have a really strong jungler and a really strong late game carry, and the jungler kind of is the bottom of the escalator, ramping up so that the the carry is able to then, you know, be effective. But the issue is that for these escalated compositions to work, you have to win the early game. And Lone Delphi, with the help of Eco, just dominated the Rhyme. They weren't ever in position to win this early game, and so now they rely on Dienzio at the top of the elevator to carry them through.
We'll see if they can make something happen. Eco drops that gauntlet. Zio's ready to fight, but this is once again Max Green dropped low. He's able to get the fountain off. He didn't use the Echo Divine Intervention. That's unbelievable. Zio, he's stutter stepping, cutting back. Can he take Truth down? No, Truth lives through it with a reflex block used at the end. Unbelievable. Tribe lose to T-Tigers once again, last man standing, but he doesn't have the damage output to well, I could say maybe he'd find a kill, but he's definitely not taking all three of them. An ace comes through. A disaster for Tribe here.
This
Dowsey.
Echo play from Max Green, you mentioned that he didn't get to use it. I'm questioning why he has it at this stage of the game. None of these team fights have been kind of telegraphing, showing to us that Max Green would have the opportunity to stand still and channel a Divine Intervention, let alone two of them Humanist. Realistically, he needs a Crucible, 1 for the Gauntlet, 2 for the Oblivion, 3 for the money, let's go, go, go. But like Nova right now are just, they've taken such a strong lead, and Max Green has kind of not really recognized that the team is so far behind that the Echo isn't going to ever... Well, it might, if they can engage a team fight with Dienzio diving on in as a Divine Intervention comes on top of him for the damage reduction and hail, then maybe you can make an Echo Divine Intervention work. That's kind of like the only scenario that I see it actually being effective. Otherwise, it just feels like there were better options for Tribe.
Well, I was gonna say, let's play a game, Dowsey. Like, you are now Max Green, and you're making the shot calls for Tribe. What do you tell your team right now?
I think that you've got two options right now. With 13 minutes into the game, there's 2 minutes till Kraken spawns. So Tribe are either going to try and catch someone out, and to do that you need vision, you need flares, and currently Eco's doing a fantastic job of just controlling the front of Tribe's jungle, meaning that Nova can kind of rotate freely between the lane and the front of the jungle and try and take these sentries. So that's not really an option. The second one is that you make a big ballsy play with this pedal, with this Rhyme. Rhyme runs in, becomes distraction, and Dienzio just jumps on top of Lone Delphi like this.
He's doing it! He's doing it! The Prophet has Dowsey made the prophecy happen! The Atlas Pauldron was out on Zio. Zio's gonna get healed up with a Divine Intervention. The moving forward, Truth has fallen! This is the play! Tribe's doing it! Dowsey is somehow in the chat with me and also talking to Tribe at the same time. Eco is surely going to go down. Massive damage starting to come out now out of this pedal. Dienzio will leave it for his teammates to clean up. What a generous teammate he is.
Yeah, no, Dienzio was really never in position to get that last hit and would have just been trouble. Lone Delphi?
Delphi?
Oh dear.
What? Delphi, what is going on here? He's in the Drifting Dark. He's really trying to show us how incredibly skilled he is. And Delphi's out of there.
Yeah, so excellent start from the team fight. Like said, if you can get that Divine Intervention onto the pedal, all the Rhymers, they just run in and basically sacrifice, or seemingly sacrifice their life for the kill, then you can take down one of the squishier members on the side of Nova. It's a good team fight win. It starts to bridge the gap, get a bit of shotgun gold into their system. We're a minute away now, Humanist, for the Kraken, and this next team fight is far more important than the previous one. And also, the card has been shown to Nova that Tribe has a win condition they can execute, which means Nova, in theory, are going to look to try and play a little bit more cleverly around the next team fight. So, whilst it's definitely success for Tribe that they've found that team fight, you have to feel that Nova are going to respect it a little bit more coming into it. You see the Wall Treads purchased by Eco. When Wall Treads are activated, Nova can just get away from that pedal and really just wait out that trampoline. I mean, power spike, the 20% extra weapon power damage. Truth though.
Trampoline forward, Truth getting lit up. He'll get the Vanguard from Eco. Turn around, maybe look to start getting a couple breaking point stacks here. Zio. Maybe Zio getting a lot, but he gets the Divine Intervention from the Grace. He turns around, he's right back onto Truth. Truth, heading back. They have the movement speed. There's the War Charge you're talking about. They root up Eco here. Eco taking a lot of damage. Look at that. Valkyrie actually connects, stunning up Lone Delphi. Eco will be falling here. Now Lone Delphi and Truth, they're in their side of the jungle. Holy Nova wound up by Max Green connects. As Tribe find 2. They'd be happy to take a third, but they're just going to settle for the Crystal Sentry here. A very clean fight.
And the Kraken as well. Like mentioned, the next team fight was the most important for Tribe, and Truth face checks a bush by himself. Perhaps just you know, forgetting the privilege that he had of being able to walk around so freely after losing a team fight. That vision line gets moved back, and Truth didn't quite respect it. Such an error for the side of Nova, and a singular one that can be pointed directly onto someone. Unfortunate, but it's not all over. This is a starting point for Nova. They have to continue up their power, and you see that Dienzio has that double tornado trigger and a lucky strike in his inventory. This is where this pedal is so strong. Nova, they just have finished their tier 3 items as we speak. Lone Delphi hasn't quite got it, but you've got that Atlas and now the metal jacket for Truth. Maybe they can weather the storm, but it's going to be tough for the side of Nova, and it's going to rely on some great gauntlet play from Eco.
Echo still on cooldown for just a couple seconds. Max Green will be ready to use the double divine intervention here any moment. Max Green jumps in. He's going to miss with the Holy Nova. Nova turn around. They're looking to find the damage. Eco drops that gauntlet, traps him inside. Who is the target? They're going to switch over to Rhyme, but Rhyme stands his ground, building up the fortified health and the healing coming out here. He's going to be able to turn his around and get right back in. Nova switch over to Zio, but Zio, he's just so mobile using the trampoline. He buffs up his damage. They turn it. They smash the pedal into the dirt. And now T-Tigers, a very similar situation to what we saw earlier, is he realized he just can't run away. That's Tribe losing 2, but they take, what is that, 2 turrets they got off of that?
Yeah, 3 turrets.
Three
turrets
turrets
with that
off of
push.
that.
That's an
Successful.
unreal amount of gold going back into Tribe. And you kind of can see how far Nova have been ahead because it's still a 4,000 gold deficit, or about 3. But the big talking point of that is the breaking point that Truth was able to pick up. You know, you notice that he was auto-attacking the Rhyme at the beginning of the team fight, building up the breaking point stacks, and then as soon as he hit around 10 to 12, he targeted the Petal like nothing else. That's exactly what you need to be doing when you play Vox at the moment. In the current meta, you're playing against Kestrels, you're playing against Petals. They have far more initial base damage than you, so you rely on your breaking point stacks to kind of bridge that, and Truth kind of really played that perfectly. Lone Delphi and Eco not quite hitting the mark with their Gauntlet and Oblivion, but it didn't quite matter because of the fact that the Gauntlet didn't really allow Dienzio position to trampoline. And so whilst the Gauntlet didn't catch anyone out, it definitely made Dienzio's life hard. He either jumps away with the trampoline and wastes the damage output, or he jumps into the enemy team and it wasn't where he wanted to be.
So much damage output for both of the carries here out on the Halcyon Fold. I think, from my perspective, it was really nice as far as how Tribe executed there. Having the Rhyme fully on the front line this time and allowing Max Green to use that Divine Intervention and allow him to kind of sustain up and be that durable front line for his team. We'll see how it's going to play out. Tribe, they're down in net worth, down in kills, 18.5 minutes in. Nova, ready to take a fight at a moment's notice here. Dienzio trampolines forward. A little bit of attack damage coming out onto Truth. Let's see what's going to happen. Benediction in. Holy Nova catches onto 2, but Nova, they're switched over. They're onto Dienzio. Dienzio gets the healing out of the Grace. Actually, he gets 2 1,100 heals coming out. Truth has to dip out of this fight. He's so incredibly low. Dienzio's just boosted, buffed up, trampolining around the Halcyon Fold. They'll find the kill onto Truth. And this is Zio. He's going to let Lone Delphi go here. They'll take the Crystal Sentry this time again. And this is pretty much Tribe's game at this point.
Yeah, no, this is... You mentioned at the beginning of the fight that Nova were ready for a fight where they had their abilities up. They were 200 gold away from getting an Echo online for Eco. He can purchase it now, and I suspect he will. If they had that Echo, the Gauntlet play could have been far more impactful. Eco's Gauntlet strategy is to create an arena for the team to fight in, where often you'll see an Ardent either try to separate a team or even just catch them in a stun. I'm very surprised that Eco's not actually looking for these stuns onto the Petal or onto T-Tigers, especially just to kind of create a wall that Dienzio would struggle to trampoline through, because Truth was forced to fight against the Petal at the beginning of the fight, and he didn't have the breaking point stacks to do so, and so Dienzio was able to win the fight hands down, and now he has that monocle completed. He's just outputting so much damage. It's do or die right now for Nova. This next team fight has to be a win.
Wait for it, comes down over the top. Zio, he just turns right onto Truth. The Divine Intervention keeping Zio alive and healthy. Benediction forward, Truth trying to kite back with that Sonic Zoom, but he's done. He's down, he's in the dirt. This is Tribe taking the game. Remember, Kraken's still marching forward onto these Vein Crystal turrets here. T-Tigers just throwing Winter Spires around in 360s here. Lone Delphi will be the last one to go down. This is Tribe going to be taking game 1 here in this series. A very impressive performance out of this team, especially from them being on the back foot for so long in this game.
Yeah, and Nova were just too antsy to get a team fight going, and Eco's Gauntlet was down for another 7 seconds. Whilst the Rhyme finishes the game, we just get to talk about how Tribe hit home on their objective win conditions of getting Dienzo into that fight with the Echo and making things work. Brilliant play coming out of Tribe towards the end of that in the mid game, and really it was just poor execution from Nova. They got a little bit too big for their boots, maybe a little bit too confident with their lead. Humanist, something that you can't afford to do against a team that is just so hungry to go to Singapore.
I didn't even notice that Zio had picked up a shatter glass at the end of that game.
He did it after the game.
Oh, did he do it after?
So he was just having a bit of fun with the shop.
Just having a bit of fun. Why not?